Morning guys, Moon here. Today I just want to give a more or less quick update on what I have changed on the character, how it currently is looking, and like what my endgame goals more or less are. But let's just quickly take a look at the passive tree before we go any further. I have transitioned into strength and int balancing, and I will explain why in a second. So for that we add a brute force solution to convert intelligence into strength. Here you can be a bit variable on how much intelligence it gives to balance it out with your other gear slots. This one is very cheap to balance the intelligence with, so it's a very good option. Instead of like divining items or something like that, like don't go like that. Don't. Then we've got the Forbidden Flame for Conviction of Power, which gives 4 minimum endurance and power charges, and the +1 maximum to match those. And these just give a lot of critical strike chance and some resistances and physical defense. Other than that, we haven't changed a lot. We've got a Watcher's Eye now, which isn't really great. It's just the precision mod. I still need a much better one, but we haven't really worked on that yet. Probably the next or the part after I changed some other gear. But yeah, Watcher's Eye is on the list of upgrades. Other than that, the passive tree is more or less set in stone, because we can't really change a lot of it without like giving up damage or defense, and I am overall pretty fine with it. I'd like to have some recover life on kill, but we can't really fit it in because I don't want to add a cluster jewel, because it just all the nodes we have are so good that adding a cluster jewel most likely is losing us damage, which is rare but happens, and for a build like this it actually is the case, because we need quite some defense nodes and then all the offense nodes are just really damn good. So yeah, let's take a look at what I have changed about gear and what I have as a Sanctified Relic. Here I just have critical strike multiplier, nothing specific at this point. I currently still am looking for better Sanctified Relics, but I haven't really found anything fitting aside from the crit multiplier. So let's take a look what we have changed. We are running an Abyssus at this point, with Frozen Legion has +2 cooldown uses, so we spawn 8 statues instead of 6. Not here because there's not enough space. But we take some more physical damage, but I don't really care about that. I'm level 97 just through casual mapping. I had 60 something%, but I died stupidly and then went for bosses and whatever. XP is gone very quickly. But yeah, it doesn't really matter. We still level pretty well with this character. And then I have changed the belt. This one currently still is work in progress. I am looking for pretty much this exact belt, except we have elemental damage something in the prefixes and cooldown reduction in the suffixes, but I didn't hit the Crusader orb yet. I've thrown 3, 4, 5 Crusader orbs onto belts, but just didn't hit the cooldown reduction. So yeah, we're still working on that. For the boots, I swapped to non-elevated Tailwind cooldown boots at this point. Later on I want to swap to double elevated cooldown and Tailwind boots, but I threw together 2 pairs already and they just don't want, they just hit bad suffixes and I cannot work with bad suffixes, so I just went with these for now, and those have to work until I get to finish them. Then for the gloves, we didn't really change much. The biggest changes, we have exposure now, because we changed our ascendancy, because we no longer use an inevitable judgment. And why don't we use it? Because we gain a lot of like elemental resistance reduction, because we are using double curses now. We are cursing with Arcanist Brand on bosses, with Punishment and Anomalous Frostbite to reduce the cold resistance. And we use a Precursor's Emblem to gain an additional curse while we are at maximum power charges, which we are at all times because of the Forbidden Flame combination. I also have some additional damage and movement speed per power charge, but these aren't really necessary, just want the additional curse, which is very strong already. You don't have to use the precursors for this. There are some other options, but I didn't really want the others, and I found this precursor for 6 divines and I thought it was a good deal. Then the other ring still is just accuracy, life, resistances. We need a lot better one here. We need one with like 45 or 50 resistances and chaos resistance as well. I want the gloves to have better resistances and accuracy instead of attack speed, so that we get to balance these out and get chaos resistance back in, because we are at minus 50 now and I want to get to plus 50 or something like that, or plus 40 at least. And then for the amulet we run a leadership's prize. This is the reason we are balancing strength and intelligence, because if our two highest attributes are equal, which is strength and intelligence, we gain scorching conflicts, brittle conflicts, and sapping conflicts. This means all our damage is brittling, sapping, and scorching, which says sap reduces the damage output of the enemies, scorch reduces the resistances of the enemies by up to 30, which is the reason why we don't play Inquisitor Penetration anymore, because with the Scorch and Exposure and Frostbite we reduce so much resistances that the other nodes just better. And then we've got Brittle, which increases our critical strike chance by 6% base, which says that all our increased critical strike chance adds on to 6 base crit, and we have a lot of increased critical strike chance. We have 1000% increased crit. Some from the flask, which I wouldn't count here, but it's so much that it really doesn't matter at all. I have to get rid of some critical strike chance because it is just too much. Because even if we disable the Bottle Faith, we still are crit capped, so it's way too much crit. I'm sorry, but I'm still working on that. So yeah, this is pretty much the biggest changes. And yeah, we are doing so big hits that with the shockwave support I already put like a 5% or crit 6% brittle onto Maven and other Uber bosses. Not Uber bosses, but other bosses, so that like, yeah, whatever, we really have so much crit. And yeah, that's why we don't really need other sources of crit, but we want the balance here. And 360 intelligence means 360% increased crit, which is just pretty absurd. So we work with about 11% base crit. That's why I also don't use Assassin's Mark anymore. And yeah, we use the Bottle Faith and Taste of Hate. The next upgrade I want to do is the Aurea's End, the Explosive Flask, which costs about 25 divines, but I need boots that give Onslaught with movement speed hybrid, so that we don't lose the Onslaught effect from the flask. Because yeah, I just want to keep Onslaught, but I want the Explosive Flask as well, but yeah, we just want a lot of movement speed. And yeah, we also lost the Adrenaline buff because I am not using the Death Rush anymore. But yeah, so we lost some movement speed there and don't want to give up Onslaught and lose more movement speed. So yeah, because we just map pretty quickly at this point, and yeah, just like cycloning through the maps, tipping Cyclone to proc shockwaves and just one-shotting pretty much anything. I'm sorry. But yeah, this is pretty much what I wanted to talk about. There still are quite a few upgrades I want to make, like double corrupting Moorhuhn for Fortify support and Flat Fist and stuff like that, and yeah, other upgrades I haven't really worked out yet. The Breastdome is pretty cool. I want to stay with the Breastdome. It's a very, very good body armor and you don't really need something else. I could go for a Giga Strong Rare, but I don't know yet. Maybe someone in the future, but yeah, at this point, no. So I'd say thanks for watching and have a good night or day or wherever it is where you are right now. See you on the next one.